What's up everybody, King Dre here, welcome back to the channel and another Monster Hunter Wilds video. I've been heavily leaning into returning monsters and monsters that we, the community, would love to return in Monster Hunter Wilds. However, today, we're flipping the script and instead we'll be talking about 5 monsters we want to take a break, if so to speak. Returning monsters are great, but not all monsters deserve a comeback, at least in the next entry. So I'll want to dive into which monsters should rest up and give our favourite 2025 game, Monster Hunter Wilds, a miss. Just a quick disclaimer though, I love pretty much all of the monsters on this list, and in my opinion, I would generally take all of them to Wilds, but, you know, I did this list objectively rather than listing my personal biases and my personal opinions. So if you do like this video, make sure to subscribe, and also comment any monsters that I missed and why you'd want them to stay behind for the 6th generation. So without further ado, start with number 1, Diablos. Diablos is a flying wyvern, one we all know from the sheer amount of games that he's been featured in. He's generally one of my favourite monsters in the series, especially for the ones that don't quite feel as special due to how much they're included in the games, but his design is amazing to me. I think his fight is exhilarating at times, and I just love how he operates in general. That being said though, the oversaturation does tone him down a little bit in terms of excitement of seeing him in a new game. For that reason, I think this would be enough to at least consider him on this list. There is another, perhaps even bigger reason as to why he should take a step back, and that is to allow for the return of a monster that many people have been asking to be brought back to the series, and that monster is obviously Monoblos. Monoblos, a large monster, known for its imposing appearance and aggressive nature, as well as its glaring similarities in both physical form and name convention to Diablos. It also belongs into the flying wyvern class, just like Diablos, though it does spend most of the time on the ground. Not really a flying type monster per se. It does have wings, but doesn't really use them. But yeah, I mean, it appeared in the very first game in Monster Hunter, the very first Monster Hunter game 20 years ago, and its last appearance was in 4 Ultimate, which it's a long time ago from now. And obviously we've all been begging for his return ever since. Diablos has always taken center stage, and obviously that's just left Monoblos kind of left behind. Although the reasoning for this could also be because part of its lore, it's to be hunted solo, and World and Iceborne, as well as Rise and Sunbreak, have focused a lot on the multiplayer side, you know, in terms of having all these siege quests, having 16-player lobbies, at least for World and Iceborne, and all that type of thing. It's never been easier really to hunt with friends and things like that, so I feel that could also be a reason. But I think that Wild should kind of change this up a little bit, not changing in its lore, but just introducing Monoblos, restrict any multiplayer activity, so you keep to the lore, keep it single player, don't allow any NPC hunters or anything like that, but only when you're hunting it exclusively. Maybe perhaps having it be a quest that unlocks the high rank from low rank, or even perhaps a hunter rank lock. We know we have those, that there are many quests that you have to get through before your hunter rank can then be locked to expand even further. This is standard. But yeah, regardless of how it's done, I do feel like it is a fair reason to leave Diablos behind. Leave him in the Camera village where he was last seen, you know, in a sandy plains or whatever it was called, and just bring back the classic Monoblos, and I think most people would agree that's probably the right way to go here. Whether they'll do that, I don't know, but still, Diablos, I think it's time to take a rest, my friend, and we'll see you in the next game, or even in the expansion if you really want to return. I think that's fair. Number 2, Kezu. Kezu is a strange one because I would wager that a lot of people would want to see him designing next-gen graphics and fidelity purely because he looks like a... yeah, you know the rest. However, it has to be said that he is seemingly popular, and there is a mixed reception of him in general. Some people generally do love him and think he is an absolutely hilarious looking, with a good enough fight to go with it. Others particularly don't feel like he fits the concept of where the series is currently heading with Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm kind of inclined to agree with both of these opinions somewhat. I would think him appearing with extreme attention to detail would be absolutely hilarious, and quite interesting to be honest. But then again, on the flip side, I do feel like him and Wilds just kind of feels like odd in a sense, as we're looking at the most realistic, immersive experience that Monster Hunter's ever delivered. And Kezu appearing in that way, I mean, seeing a big white dick-looking thing is not ideal for the immersion. I mean, imagine a lot of first-time hunters. I think the experience will be amazing, but at the same time, it'll be like, what the hell is this game? Can we even take it seriously? I suppose. Maybe I'm being harsh there, but I mean, I do like Kezu. Again, I like all the monsters on this list, so it is what it is. But yeah, another big reason for Kezu to take a backseat, similar to the Diablos, is just to allow for the return of the one and the only Giginox, because most people put these two under the same category in terms of how they look and how they work, but Kezu's always taken the spot when it comes to appearing in games, at least in recent memory. Kezu's always the cave-dwelling creepy monster. Giginox hasn't had that opportunity for a long time. I mean, he's not had any chance to shine, and his last appearance was in the 3rd generation. We're heading to the 6th now. I do believe that it's been long enough, and I think Giginox deserves a chance to show what he's all about and show that he's not just a crappy version of Kezu, but if anything, a more interesting version, perhaps. Slightly better design, still with a creepy look, I suppose, but it doesn't look quite as weird and has comparable to a male organ, if you want to go that way, just like Kezu does. So I do believe Giginox returning in full HD next-gen glory is something that everybody can get behind, and I think most people would agree that perhaps Kezu, despite how good it would be to see him in next-gen graphics, like I say, and how funny this would be, it may need a break, to be honest.
Number 3. Baroth.
Baroth is not a monster that I can confidently say is a fan favourite. I've never really heard anyone talk about Baroth in terms of it being their favourite monster or making any mention of loving its fight or even its armour set and design. Yet, despite this, Baroth is so common amongst the franchise. It always seems to be in the game at release. At least that's what it feels like to me. I feel like I see Baroth in almost every game. Can't get away from him. So, it's almost a staple, really, at this point. So wherever there's a deserty area or a muddy area, it's just, yep, Baroth's going to be thrown in there somewhere. And I feel like that is basically why I feel like he should be taking a step back here. I feel like there's probably other monsters that are capable of fulfilling the role in the muddy areas. We've got different examples of monsters that hang around in the desert, some in the swamp / mud areas in the Monster Hunter maps. I would even take Giratonis at this point. I know he's been in World and Rise, but he's gotten better in Rise. I feel like they could even do even more. And like I said, I'm a big fan of expanding on the Piscean Wyverns that we have currently in the series. So I feel like, yeah, Giratonis is probably a bad example because I know not many people are going to like him, and he's also kind of saturated, at least in the 5th gen since his release, I guess. But yeah, there's monsters with more interesting fights and visual designs that can benefit from these areas. Obviously, whether then returning monsters is one thing. Like I said, I've got Giratonis as just a base example, but I feel like if they had a new monster that is specialized, like a Balahara type of monster, but instead of the desert side is in the muddy, swampy areas, I think that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say here. It's Baroth. I see Baroth everywhere. I can't get away from Baroth, and I feel like Baroth might be a little bit tired from constantly moving around different areas and appearing in different maps. So let's give him a little bit of a rest, and we move on.
Number 4, Zenoga.
Now, I may be getting myself into a lose-lose situation by going here, but Zenoga is pretty much the #1 monster when it comes to popularity. It's always on top whenever there's a poll when discussing the best or the most liked monsters. As shown on the 20th anniversary monster poll earlier this year, Zenoga's iconic. It has a great design and a fun fight to go along with it. However, it always seems to take a spot in recent games, having appeared in both 5th gen games and their expansions, as well as having a variant in Stygian Zenoga and an Apex version as well in the same generation, not game. But whilst it's a controversial pick for some, I have also seen many people saying they want Zenoga to take a break from the series and miss a game. The Fang Beast class it belongs to is a very intriguing one. Obviously, it ranges from monsters like Zenoga to Rajang, Doshaguma, you know, there are so many variants of the skeleton in terms of comparing them to real animals. Like, you've got, like I said, the monkeys, you've got the bears, you've got the Zenoga, which is like a wolf type of thing. So I feel like we should keep going and keep adding more different varieties, if there is anything else they can really think of, to the Fanged Beast class, whether it's more monkeys, more bears, even another Zenoga type monster that isn't Zenoga. Not to mention, his thunder abilities may already be overshadowed, as we've seen an extremely powerful thunder monster in Raydal, which is the apex of the Windward Plains. Although I know he's a flying wyvern and not a fanged beast, I just feel like Zenoga just isn't really needed for this game, and missing out on this one time will make his return a little bit more hyped, and I don't think him being in the game necessarily makes it much better, in my opinion, although I know by data, the facts, the popularity is probably against me here, but I'm going to say it. I think Zenoga, he's been pretty much in every game since he was first added to the series. I feel like Zenoga needs to relax a little bit, you know, go chill with his Thunderbugs, take a nap, take a rest, and just prepare yourself for your return after Wilds, because, you know, we'll be hyped once again once he does return, should he miss and not be oversaturated like he is very much so nowadays. Number 5. Kshala Daora. Lastly, why not finish on an Elder Dragon, and one that feels like it'll just not go away. Teostra is also in this boat, but I feel like Kshala, although in my opinion one of the best designed Elder Dragons in the entire series, is the one that is more than fair to pick to miss out. We've been accustomed to the Elder Dragon trio, which consists of Kshala, Teostra and Chameleos. The latter was not in the 5th gen until Rise, so it missed the game which propelled the series into what it is today as a certified household name in gaming and the JRPG industry, Monster Hunter World. Kshala has been around since the 3rd generation and has frequently been part of the Monster Hunter releases. Kshala's fighting world, for example, was by far one of the most critiqued and received lots of feedback from frustrated hunters. Its fight was then once again revised and made into a more fun encounter, adding the dragon element in Rise and Sunbreak. And being an Elder Dragon, Kshala received a further version in its risen form, which was deemed as a great challenge to hunters fairly deep into the Sunbreak endgame. Kshala, in my opinion, is a great monster overall, but with the tweaks it's received based on the experience it provided to players in Capcom's best-selling title, as well as the most appearances it has under its belt, I feel like Kshala is a monster that holds weight in the series, but it does need to take a bit of a step back and allow for all the elders such as Namiel to come into the series again and continue to expand this, so it can have more than just the usual trio. I believe that is more than fair, and I think a lot of people would really agree with Kshala. And like I said, I could have said exactly the same thing about Teostra. Teostra's pretty much in the same boat. I'd rather Lunastra take over Teostra if it has to be as similar as possible in terms of the returning ones, because Lunastra, obviously with the way that it got tweaked in Monster Hunter World when it came through as a title update, completely separated itself from just being a blue version of Teostra, and it's just a much more intense fight in my opinion. Some people may find it annoying, some people may find it extremely difficult, but it's different. But yeah, enough of Teostra. I'm going to go with Kshala on this one, and I feel like most people would probably agree that Kshala has been heavily involved and could take a step back here and let other Elder Dragons like Namiel, like I say, even Charish, Valda, something like that, to take center stage and be part of the trio, or even reinvent the whole trio. Who cares? Like, at this point, just yeah, Kshala, go make your tornadoes elsewhere. We don't need that in Monster Hunter Wilds, although I do have a theory about Kshala and Wilds, so maybe we will see her, maybe we won't, I don't know. But anyway, that has been it. I hope you liked this video. It's just a little discussion again. I love doing these. Some people may not like what I've said, some people may agree with what I said, some people might think I'm spot on, some people might think this guy needs to stop making videos, but either way, it's not going to happen. Anyway, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed. I really appreciate the support you've been given in the last few videos. It really does motivate me to carry on. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one.